Welcome back, guys, to Phoenix Wright Dual Destinies, where with Apollo leaving us, only Phoenix and Athena step into courtroom number 5 to defend Solomon. However, we're wondering where this is going to go at this point in time, because the intrigue that surrounds Athena is what we're really interested in. However, we must defend our client, so let's get to it. In fact, no time spent outside, we're jumping straight in. Oh, okay. I suppose we should reconvene the trial of Solomon Starbuck or something. Where are you, Judge?
Objection!
What? Your Honor, could you please come out from under your bench? There are no more bombs, I promise. Oh yeah, he would be panicky. Yes, that makes sense.
Oh yes, my apologies. I'm still a little jumpy when it comes to trials involving bombs. I mean, first the courtroom exploded. And then Mr. Tonate self-destructed.
I guess that's one way of describing what happened to Tonate.
Anyway, it seems that Mr. Justice was seriously wounded by Mr. Tonate's actions. So you, Mr. Wright, will be taking up the defense? Do you have an understanding of what has happened in the trial so far?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense is ready.
Very well. Is the prosecution also ready? I take it you'd like me to give the opening statement this time.
Looks like the judge has become a pretty good mind reader. Well, he's certainly seen more than his fair share of colourful prosecutors. You could say he's something of a veteran of sorts.
Let's see. In the previous part of this trial, we learned that the victim, Clay Terran, escaped from Launchpad 1 carrying the defendant, Solomon Starbuck. There were explosions on the second floor of the Space Center and on the rocket itself. The two astronauts used the Launchpad 1 corridor to reach the boarding lounge. And how could the victim climb down the ladder if it was carrying the defendant? That was the mystery that needed to be solved. But Mr. Justice proved that the victim was killed in the boarding lounge. Prosecutor Blackwell, were you able to discover any new facts related to this point?
Upon further investigation, we discovered an oxygen tank fragment in the lounge. Surprisingly, it would appear that Justice Dono's argument was correct. So that means the testimony to the first two people on the scene are suspect. There were two people who claimed to be the first on the scene, but can we truly trust their statements? Let's see. The two people were Detective Candace Arm and Yuri Cosmos, right? You think that one of them might have given a false statement to the police? Yes, certainly possible. We might have to do a little more digging. And just as our team was about to cross-examine Detective Arm, the courtroom bombing incident occurred, and the trial was put on hold.
That accursed fellow! He killed my witness! He killed Detective Arm!
He definitely put the kibosh on anyone asking her about what she saw. Exactly. In other words, the question of who killed the victim in the boarding lounge has once again become the main focus of this trial. It's obvious Prosecutor Blackwell still thinks it was Mr. Starbuck. Fulbright said that Blackwell has a thing against the astronaut. Nevertheless, the defense argues there was a third person in the lounge, and that's who killed the victim.
Objection!
To make such reckless claims in a courtroom takes a bold man. You're a stupid one. There was no third person in the boarding lounge. Or have you gone dotty already? Old man.
Objection!
We'll see who's the dotard after I trounced you with my years of experience, little boy. In any case, Mr. Starbuck claims he saw someone leaving the lounge. Furthermore, a Space Center employee also saw a suspicious figure at the scene.
They saw a third person?
I see my sister has been running her mouth. That's right, I almost forgot that Aura is Prosecutor Blackwell's sister. No matter, she didn't see this mystery person's face clearly. Therefore, there is no evidence to indicate that this person was not the defendant. I guess the possibility the figure was Mr. Starbuck is still there. In brief, we need to determine if a third person was there or not. To this end, we should hear the testimony of one of the first people on the scene. Director Cosmos, huh?
Very well. Bailiff, please bring the witness to the stand. Why, I believe I've seen you before in the newspapers. Of course you have, for I am Yuri Cosmos, director of the Cosmos Space Center, which was of course named after me, Yuri Cosmos. Don't you have anything you wish to ask me?
Looks like he's all geared up to do some bragging.
7 years ago, I successfully launched the Hat 1 and...
Everyone already knows how brilliant you are. Even I'm trying to hold back my tears at seeing such a great man standing before me. So could you please proceed directly to your important testimony?
Ha ha ha! I see this fine young lad has a proper appreciation of greatness. Then allow me to begin my epical testimony that will be recorded in the annals of history.
That's Future Prosecutor Blackwell's just now. It sounded more to me like he was poking fun at Director Cosmos. It's probably for the best of itself right over the director's head.
Now then, Director Cosmos, the condensed version of your illustrious testimony, please.
Condensed version of what he saw at the scene.
Detective Arm and I rushed towards the boarding lounge together. We went via the control room and peeked in from there to see what was going on inside. We saw a figure standing in the middle of the lounge and Terran lying on the floor. I hate to say it, but I can only imagine the standing figure must have been Starbuck. I see. So in your testimony you claim you arrived on the scene after the two had escaped from the launch pad to the lounge, and just after the victim had been killed. Oh, the horror, the humanity! What I said is what I saw, and what I saw is what I said. Courageous action to take in the face of such terrifying explosions, wouldn't you say? To save my men, I went personally into the epicenter of danger, risking my own life for theirs! Ha 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 ha!
Well, what do you know? It sounds like the director really cares about his men. Yeah, although it sounds more like he was scared and just had a peek from far away.
Is the defense ready to cross-examine the witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Director Cosmos' testimony is pretty vague. I'm gonna have to press him and draw out more information before I do anything else. So, pressing shall begin. What information will we even get?
Detective Arm and I rushed towards the boarding lounge together.
Hold it! Where were you coming from?
The 6th floor. We were making sure any stragglers made their way to the 4th floor. It was then we heard about Starbuck and Terran and hurried to the 3rd floor lounge. On my galactic scooter here, of course.
Why do you keep calling it galactic? Does it have something to do with space?
Of course! It's specifically designed to be used...
What?
on galactic battleships!
Sorry, I paused at reading that. We're not there yet. I see. Then I take it works in 0G2?
Sadly, no, with the current state of technology as it is. I'm afraid it would just float about and be galactically useless.
Well, that's a galactic bummer.
I see. You rushed to the boarding lounge on your space-age pogo stick. And when you got to the scene, what did you see? We went via the control room and peeked in from there to see what was going on inside.
Let's see. According to this diagram, you didn't have to go through the control room to get to boarding lounge 1. It looks like you could have gone there from the 7th corridor as well. Yeah.
Yes, but in her haste, Detective Arm rushed ahead of me towards the control room. All I could do was merely follow behind her.
I see.
So we peeked into the boarding lounge from the control room door and... We saw a figure standing in the middle of the lounge and Terran lying on the floor.
Hold it! Not gonna get anything out of this, are we? So you couldn't see who that figure was clearly or what they were doing?
Sadly, the only thing I could tell was that it was a person standing motionless. A defendant, no doubt, staring aghast at his deed. What other explanation is there?
Ah, I'm so close. Well, evidence, I can't prove that person's the third party.
I don't relish in this, and... I hate to say it, but I can only imagine the standing figure must have been Starbuck.
Hold it! Well, Starbuck couldn't really stand by the look of it beforehand. Laura Blackwell also saw a suspicious figure in the lounge, but she gave the statement that it was too dark to see the person's face clearly. Did you see this figure's face clearly?
No, not clearly. The lighter they were holding illuminated the area around their feet at the time, but other than that, I could see little else. That's why I could see Terran, but I couldn't see who the other person was.
So for all you know, it might not have been Mr. Starbuck, isn't that correct?
I would like to believe that. Starbuck isn't the type of man who's capable of murder.
Objection!
When the witness entered the boarding lounge, there was no third person there. Isn't that correct, Great Space Center Director? Yes, that's right. Only Starbuck and Terran were there by that time. After we peeked in, the lounge suddenly went dark and the figure vanished.
You mean they disappeared? Well, that's odd.
Objection! The reason the figure appeared to vanish is because it was the defendant. When the witnesses weren't looking, he fell to the floor and feigned unconsciousness.
Hold it! Hold on. Director Cosmos, did you ever take your eyes off the scene?
Just for a brief instant, about as long as it takes for a shooting star to go by.
If you took your eyes off the scene, then this third person could have escaped during that time.
But what escape route could this person have used?
The direction opposite the control room, the southern door to the elevators. There's no security lock on that door, so it would have been possible to escape that way.
Objection! All things are possible, right, Dono? The real question is, do you have any proof?
Well...
If we're just talking possibilities, we could each profess whatever we'd like. An inmate who used to be a university professor and lunar researcher used to say that there is a kingdom of little green men who live under the surface of the moon.
As long as they don't punish us in the name of said moon for what we've done to it.
But I say, where's your proof that this quaint kingdom exists?
He's calling your theory a work of fiction, boss. And he's right, I don't have any proof yet. Still, the southern door was a possible escape route. I better make a mental note of that. Director Cosmos, may I ask you a question?
Yes?
Why did you look away from the boarding lounge?
Ha ha ha! There's actually another tale of bravery behind the answer to that. It was when Detective Arms saw the figure and raised her gun. Being a great humanitarian and protector of mankind, I tried to stop her.
What? You're saying Detective Arm raised her gun as soon as she saw the figure?
I imagined her instincts as a detective told her they were the killer.
I don't know about that. And were you able to prevent Detective Arm from firing her gun?
I'm afraid I was too late. I was unable to stop her. She identified herself clearly, and then she fired 2 warning shots at the shadowy figure. This information about Detective Arm's actions sounds critically important. Please add it to your testimony. Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots at the figure.
Okay, so now here we are. This is the important bit. So, we're looking to present to the statement, most likely. And it's going to be about the number of gunshots very specifically. So, we discovered this 10 caliber handgun bullet but a single bullet hole was found in the boarding lounge. The bullet itself is missing. Now that is obviously our thing to look at here. One bullet. So fired 2 warning shots, there was only 1 bullet hole. Where'd the other one go?
Objection!
Are you sure you were really paying attention to what Detective Arm was doing? Whoa, okay then. Revving because you got cut up or something? I don't know.
You doubt my words. Words will someday be written down in history books.
Somehow, I don't think that those exact words will ever be written down in any history books.
Mr. Wright, would you please explain yourself so that we all can understand?
You say that Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots, and yet only 1 bullet hole was ever found at the scene.
What?
Only 1 bullet hole means the gun was only fired once. And yet Director Cosmos is saying Detective Arm fired 2 shots. No editor would allow such a glaring contradiction into a history book.
Objection!
Unfortunately for you, the witness's words are true. We confirm the 2 shots were fired from Detective Arm's gun.
Objection!
But there was only 1 bullet hole at the scene. Where did the other bullet hole vanish to? Ah! Attacker. You should know the answer to that already. I should? During the previous trial, a certain oxygen tank was presented as evidence. We've already discussed that it was ruptured in the lounge, have we not? Well, it appears that the thing that ruptured it was a bullet. A bullet that was found near the tank, to be precise. This bullet was fired from a .38 caliber gun, the same caliber as a detective's gun. What? So the oxygen tank data has now been updated that the victim's oxygen tank was struck by a bullet. The rifling marks also match up. There's no question that the bullet was fired from Detective Arm's gun. And so the bullet from Arm's gun is now being added to the court record. That means Detective Arm's gun was a .38, so who's the .1s?
A rifling marks, like a gun's fingerprints on a bullet, correct? And examining the rifling marks on a bullet can tell us the gun it was fired from.
One of the bullets the detective fired found its way into the holographic image display. The other bullet came to a stop near the victim's oxygen tank. The evidence confirms the director's statement that the detective fired 2 shots. My beautiful contradiction! Gone! All gone! So that bullet hole was from a .38 caliber, huh? I better update the record. Okay then, the only bullet hole found was made by a bullet fired from a .38 caliber gun.
Very good. Now we know the fate of both of the shots Detective Arm fired. Mr. Wright, does that clear up all your questions?
Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots. One hit the holographic display and the other hit the oxygen tank. Does that really clear up everything about what happened at the scene? No, it doesn't. No, Your Honor, it doesn't. Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots from a .38 caliber gun. Well, that doesn't explain the existence of a certain piece of evidence found at the scene. A piece that points to the existence of a third person.
Oh? Very well, but it won't do to keep us waiting, Mr. Wright. What piece of evidence suggests the possibility of a third person at the scene?
So we're talking about the fact that there was an actual gunfight.
Take that!
And what is this metal pellet supposed to be?
Just a little something of great importance we found in the crime scene, Your Honor. You found it where? In a floor gutter at the crime scene. It looks like the police and prosecution both missed it. Furthermore, this is a .10 caliber bullet. I really do not know how to say calibers properly. Apologies to any people who really like this kind of stuff. But it's a bullet. A different bullet. That's all I need to know. Making it much smaller than the one of Detective Arm's .38 calibers.
Then that means...
Exactly. One more person must have been there in the lounge. A third person who had a gun that could fire .1 caliber bullets. 10, whatever, I don't care. And if that's true, that explains why Detective Arm fired warning shots. His third person fired at Detective Arm and Director Cosmos with their gun. And in return, a detective fired her warning shots. Isn't that how it really went down, Director Cosmos?
Ha ha ha! It looks like you've deduced my miraculous tale of survival. Yes, you're absolutely correct. The mystery person fired upon us. What's this now?
What? You never breathed a word of any of this to me before.
Ha ha ha! Well, all great men have a secret or two, don't you know?
Foolish old geezer. So Director Cosmos really has been hiding the presence of a third person all along. Director Cosmos, I want you to testify to the court about what you really saw.
You may be a very great man, but in my courtroom, you are just another witness. You won't receive special treatment here. Now please give accurate testimony.
So, what he really saw this time?
Detective Arm and I rushed to the control room together.
Sass going back over previous information.
In the lounge, we saw a figure standing in the middle of the room and Terran on the floor.
Again, previous information.
We were still in the control room to the east when the figure fired at us.
Okay, now this is interesting.
Given that there was no third person in the lounge when the witness entered it, does this mean the person who fired the gun had to have been the defendant?
Not necessarily. It's still possible that it was someone else. Just test for like gunpowder residue, the blowback from actually firing a gun, the fact that no gun was found on the person who then crumpled to the floor and pretended to be unconscious. Many other reasons I'm sure we can kind of point to here. Most likely, as soon as Detective Arm and Director Cosmos discovered this person, they escaped through the southern door, the one that didn't have a security lock.
Objection!
Double-edged swords are a tricky lot, mishandle one, and it is you who is cut down. Huh? Your reasoning could apply if Spaceboy were the killer as well. Think about it. After being discovered, he could have fired the .1 caliber gun. And Detective Arm would have responded by firing 2 warning shots. All he had to do was feign unconsciousness to invent the possibility of a third person.
Objection!
But Mr. Starbuck didn't have a gun in his possession when he was found by police. Nor has a gun been found at the crime scene. Its absence can only be explained if there was a third party who took it with them.
Objection!
Ah, cleaning robots? Recall the existence of a trash chute in the boarding lounge. The defendant could have simply thrown the gun down the chute.
Objection!
But you can't deny the possibility of a third person leaving with the weapon.
Objection!
It's up to you to prove that possibility. And I trust you haven't forgotten my little piece of decisive evidence. What evidence? Why, the detonator switch that was found in Mr. Starbuck's pocket. Naturally. The most compelling evidence of all that tells us he is the culprit. Ah! I did forget all about that. Look, your boldness. How deliciously obvious it is that they lack the evidence to rival mine. Wow, he sliced our third-person theory to ribbons and served it to us just like that.
Yes, well, I have a question of my own, actually. That bullet that the mysterious figure shot, what did it hit exactly?
It hit me.
So does that mean you're a ghost?
I was wondering when you would realize it, your boldness. Director Cosmos is an authentic, bona fide ghost. He can even pass through walls. Huh?
Ah!
Objection!
Stop scaring the judge! Prosecutor Blackwell, shame on you for teasing the nice old gentleman. Your boldness, it was all in jest.
Please show yourself again.
He's had a rough time of it lately.
Are you sure? In that case, how did you manage to survive being shot, Director Cosmos? Ha ha ha! I'm glad you asked. It was a miracle! A miracle befitting a great history-making figure such as myself! The bullet hit my glorious Medal of Honor, whereby it ricocheted, thus saving my life. What?
That's unbelievable. I should check this out. Oh wow, look at that. There's one extra Yaxa star. The odds are literally astronomical. I guess it really was a miracle. It's beginning to really feel like the Cosmos is watching out for Director Cosmos.
But why did you conceal this information, Director Cosmos? A great man such as myself has to hide things on occasion, no matter how much it hurts. It is the plight of the truly great. It may be hard for this generation to understand.
I don't know, but it sounds fishy to me. What else is he hiding? Let's just cross-examine him and see what we can find out.
And now then, Mr. Wright. Your cross-examination, please.
Well, the main thing I'm suspicious of right now, apart from who shot at whom, is positions in the room. Both Candace Arm and Yuri Cosmos here entered the room from the control room side, which makes it look like if someone was to shoot at them and it hit him, then, you know, why would Candace then shoot back in completely the wrong direction and hit the screen? And the oxygen tank on the person on the ground too? You can see where I'm a bit... I don't think people were standing where they were standing. Right, so we kind of judged that the first two statements were literally just a repeat of the previous testimony. So I don't think these are anything. We've only got a three-pronged statement here. So this is the thing. We were still in the control room to the east when the figure fired at us. It's a placement question, which again is what we're wondering about. So we're gonna present or press here? I'm not sure. Right, well the bullet ricocheted off you. So I'm wondering. I don't think either of you in the east. Actually, I think you were in the east. But I don't think Candace's arm was in the east. I think the shot that's hit the thing is the ricochet. And it's you versus Candace, if I had to say anything. Just judging by the evidence in the testimony. Do I press this first to get a bit more information? Because I'm wondering if it's the bullet from Arm's gun. The bullet found near the victim's oxygen tank. It was fired from a .38 caliber handgun. I'm wondering if it's either that, or it might be a .1 caliber handgun. But what you're thinking is the .1 caliber handgun at this point was actually owned by Yuri Cosmos, and that's why it was fired towards Candace's arm, and why the bullet ended up in that grate. Which makes sense. Now, I think I've got to present one of these bullets, but I'm not sure which one of the two bullets I've got to present. So we could be getting a penalty here. And the thing, I'm going to present this bullet actually. Because if they were still in the east, why is the bullet all the way over the other side of the room? It's south. That is one hell of a ricochet from an angle of a shot. That's like returning to sender. Yes.
Objection!
That's what we're going with. Director Cosmos, I believe you were telling this great court a glorious lie.
A great man like me tell a lie? Have you ever heard of such a thing in all of history?
My accusation is based on the positions of the people who were in the lounge, and we finally got to the bit that I wish to get to. Nothing was adding up. Angles were not adding up. The bullets were not adding up. The bullets tell us too much of a story just from the positions of where they lay. So next time we find out more as we press. I'm Phoenix Wright, Jewel Destinies, Yuri Cosmos. Why did you fire the detective? Find out next time. Bye bye.